Coaches and athletic directors, it's Corbin Smith with MTTS Sports Group. Let me ask you a quick question. What are the biggest challenges that you face when it comes to leadership development and culture sustainability? At MTTS Sports Group, we have created a system through leadership speaking and training, staff alignment seminars, as well as culture seminars that address those issues. We also offer a 6-hour fully immersive leadership stress test for your teams called the Tour Crucible. If you are interested at all, go to www.mttsportsgroup.com and let us know how we can help. Enjoy the podcast.
Sorry for the delay and finally getting this connected.
No, I just appreciate you jumping on. So
I'm excited.
Yeah, gosh, Barry, I think you're number 80. I don't know if you're going to be episode 79 or 80, but yeah, I've done a lot of these in a year.
That's
so
awesome.
Thanks for coming on. I'll introduce you real quick. Barry Odom, head football coach at Purdue University, and been fortunate enough to watch you grow since you were a high school kid, and I wasn't much older, but going to Missouri and then following your coaching career, and you're a special man. So I appreciate you coming on, dude. How are things going?
Awesome, man. Great to see you. And I think you look at what coaching is, and if I had to go back looking at from every level that I had a chance as a young kid to play baseball and run track and play football, I always had influential coaches, but none more influential than my college coach and Coach Smith. And I believe that we all are placed exactly where we're supposed to be. And it took a lot of different twists and turns for me to end up at the University of Missouri at that time. And I had, the coach that came in our high school and really found me late. And then for how I'd aligned, and it was like the exact thing that I was searching for. And I think that's one of the reasons that I'm in coaching today, is because the impact that a number of guys like yourself and like Coach Smith had on my life. And I never can give the game back enough on what it gave me. And it's probably more people than the actual game. But I'm happy to join you today, man, and a lot of respect for what you're doing.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Hey, I want to ask you, because just so people know, so you went to Ada High School in Ada, Oklahoma, small little town just south of Oklahoma City. But I remember recruiting there, and it was just, you guys were on a different level. Everything about it was just different, and a lot of people, a lot of coaches, that coach in bigger cities don't really understand just the influence a community really has in your upbringing and you as an individual, but also as an athlete and a student and stuff like that. How much did growing up in Ada and playing football at Ada, because you were a linebacker, in high school, and played running back in college, and played running back also, but in college you played linebacker. How much influence do you think growing up in a smaller community had with just your values and your work ethic?
Yeah, I think at the time, I don't know that I really understood the impact of what I had the opportunity to do, because the entire town and community, and Coach, it didn't matter if it was our football team or if it was the band or the show choir. I mean, the alignment with the administrators, with the coaches, with the leaders of the community, they understood that, our most important commodity are people. And they poured absolutely everything into the extracurricular activities and the programs. And then academically, they always, I think, did a really good job. They, the entire K through 12, they call it the system. And, I think you look at really what was that, it was a system, because there was a really deliberate approach all the way up from elementary school, all the way up of the development of kids, which really I didn't know it while you're there, but man, they allowed you to fail,
Right.
but supported you on how to get it right. But also, man, they made us so competitive in everything we did. There was a competition, and some people look at that like, well, is that healthy? I absolutely it is, and I think we need more of it because life is hard. Um, but I thought that we won. I think Ada has won at least 20 state championships in the sport of football. And you just look at every year, that was the expectation. That was like,
Right.
okay, if you don't win at all, then it was a failure. Um, but I think you look at everything that it provided, and it opened up another world for me when I looked at what is out there, because there were guys ahead of me in school um, that went on and they were college football players. Blake Shelton, the music artist, was a classmate of mine. I mean, there's so many. Jeremy
That's
Shockey was a
wild.
great tight end
Yeah.
that was there. I mean, there's so many people, but that was kind of there were people there before me and then after that they were having great success, and it opened up my eyes. Like, man, you can go do that. You can go do something if you set your mind to it. And I think a lot of that was just systematic how it was built into the school from the
Right.
community, the support.
Well, you bring up an important word, and that's competition. And I know I've had Brock on here. I've had Damani on here. Um, and they all talked about it, specifically Brock, right? Because you guys, one of the first classes to come through there, and you guys are responsible for turning that around and laying the foundation that later led to basically where it is today. And I'm convinced of that. And I think you guys were the most competitive groups, man. Every day, it didn't matter what you were doing, classroom, weight room, eating at the training table or on the field. There was always this competition, um, mechanism that was in place without coaches having to really instill that. Um, and you were fortunate to be around to really have two mentors, in my opinion, that were probably two of the greatest competitors, and that's Larry Smith and Gary Pinkel. And I've seen your practices at UNLV. I've been in your staff rooms, been in your team meeting rooms, and you seem to always innately be pushing the competition piece. Um, in a day and age where guys are wanting to sit out because they're getting paid a lot of money or whatever, how do you keep that competition piece at the forefront of everything that you do?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of levels to that, and I think number one, um, you better have the right person in your program from a recruiting standpoint, because at the end of the day, the 3.5 hours that guys are on that platform every Saturday in that world of competition, in my opinion, if you haven't trained or prepared yourself through the process of what that looks like, you have no chance on Saturday afternoon. So every single thing that we're trying to do, and I learned this from coach when I was a player. I mean, on put it on full display, whether it's inside run for
Right.
25 minutes or the one-on-one tackling drill, whatever it is, there was always the thought there's a winner and a loser in absolutely everything we do. And that's that's in life, that's in the classroom. My one of the pillars of what I want to be able to try to influence our team on is if you come to school here, you are going to graduate in the world
Yeah.
of leaving and going somewhere every year. I want to be able to develop guys, but also in the context, coach, spiritually, socially, academically, obviously athletically, and as a man, I want them to walk out of our program that they're prepared for life. And I want us all to play in the NFL. Every single one of them, I want to go play in the NFL. But the game of football, in in my opinion, if 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 we could take what our locker room looks like right now and make our society look like that, man, it's going to be a much better world.
Yeah.
Because the game of football, when you step on the field, it does not matter how much money you do or don't have. It does not matter the color of your skin. It does not matter what kind of music you listen to.
Right.
Um, it's it's as real as it can get. And when you can get the locker room galvanized that they really care and love each other, um, then the competitive nature and the DNA starts showing up on what it is. And I just believe that's an everyday process. Because as soon as you relax, there's somebody waiting around the corner to
Yep.
knock you out.
Yeah.
And I want my guys, whenever football is over, that they've got a degree. I've put them in position to be able to network with enough people that when they go stand in line to get that job, that they know and they're prepared more than anybody else trying to go get it.
Yeah.
And the same thing with being a husband. And if they get a chance to be a dad, that man, I want them to be the best. And the way you do that is you have to compete your tail off every single day.
It's funny because we anybody that's ever played been in that locker room, and I go back to my high school days, and I know you do too, and we both went to high schools that were special high schools, right? And Loyola High School, Ada High School, but people that haven't experienced that, it's so important because all athletic programs kind of talk about family, right? But it goes beyond that because, like you said, when you're in that locker room, it doesn't matter where you came from, your culture, the color of your skin, how much money you do or don't have. If both your parents, were together for your whole life or whatever, um, you have arguments, you have disagreements, sometimes you have fights. I mean, it happens, but it also happens in family, and this being, not the only boy in your house growing up.
Yeah.
And I know it being a father of 3 boys too, but, it's so important. I wish our society could really experience that, and, that kinda goes into my next question about culture because I know we've had quite a few talks about this previously about in today's day and age of college athletics, it used to be like when you were playing, when I was playing, the older guys would instill the culture, right? They would implement it. If you did something as a young player that didn't fit, they would say, "That's not what we do here. This is
Right.
how we do it. So straighten up." Um, with all the turnover because of NIL, because of the transfer portal, which is what we live in,
Yep.
um, how much is your culture affected year after year from the standpoint of are you consistently having to rebuild the culture or reinstall the culture every 6 months, every year?
I think number one, it goes back to who you invite in your program. Okay, are they made up of the right stuff? Do they fit the Purdue way on the things that we talk about, the foundational building blocks of what your culture looks like? If you walk into our building, not anywhere do we have the word family up or culture in it.
Right.
I want people to see it. We don't have to
Yeah.
go promote it. I and I've got to own this. I did not do a very good job on last year's team. When I got the job, we ended up, in last year, and I'm not making excuses, Corby, but it's the facts. We signed 87 new guys, and then 46 of them were after spring practice last year. I failed on getting us as close as I could, and then it showed in the fall. We lost three one-score games right at the
Mhm.
end of the game. Because there's a number of things. One, we didn't do a good enough job coaching. Two, we weren't close enough as a team, and made a lot of difficult decisions that I think will prove to be long-term successful for us.
Right.
But it was all based around culture. On as soon as that last game was over, we've been very, very deliberate on this teaching. On this is exactly how we're going to do it, what it's going to look like, how we embrace it, the workouts, the togetherness. We've done more team building exercises since January 12th until today than maybe I have in the last 5 years combined, because I wanted guys to care about their teammates. I wanted them to care about Purdue and for them to understand this. we represent something so much bigger than ourselves. And it's never you run out of time, but I know this, the more we just continue to pour into the relationships, those always take time and effort. More you pour into this is the standard and the expectation and what it looks like, eventually the culture takes over. And fast forward to where we are today, from where we were last year this time, it's a completely different program. But
Yeah.
it's taken alignment, it's taken vision, alignment, and then everybody making sure that they understand and hold each other accountable. We don't have a very big senior class this year. We only got 15 guys. So I'm challenged. We've got leadership classes and a leadership council set up. And then we've done a number of things that just try to blend the team together, but also the ability to lead and call out in a healthy standpoint. Hey, that's not a winning habit. That's not the standard. So it's not necessarily like it was, years ago with, hey, the seniors, they sit at the front of the room and they lead and then everybody else follows. But there is a pretty good blend of trying to get back to some of those things that helped us have success when we were together.
Yeah, I think, you hit on a key thing there. So the intentionality of it all, right? You got to be intentional and being able to do team building, do team bonding, and consistently. Because I know a lot of high school coaches listen to this, and we haven't talked about my business, the MTTS Sports Group, but basically from the leadership and character development standpoint and culture, I still use that word because that's what everybody uses. But the reality is, everybody talks words and action, like you said, right? You want people to step to your facilities, go watch the team, be around your players and your coaches and the staff, and feel it. And the fact of the matter is, most high school coaches are dealing with problems every day. You deal with it every day, and as coaches, we find solutions, and that's great. But the reality is, the problems are words, the solutions are words, and unless you have a system in place, that's where the action takes place, is the system. And how important do you think it is? Because that's one of the things I've created, systems for leadership development,
Yeah.
for character development and culture development, that are based around systems that they can install their solutions in. That's pretty important thing for coaches, isn't it? Don't you think?
You gotta have it in my belief, because if not, it can't just be the flavor of the day, right? You've got to
Yeah,
have a plan on how you're going to go attack it. You got to have a plan on, okay, this is, and every team's different. I mean, every single year you got a different team and what it looks like. But if systematically on the approach on how you're going to attack, becoming a great team, what does that look like? I mean, is it a group of 12 guys? Is it 20? And then how do you teach that material? How do you get them then to be the voice in the locker room? If that's not really, in my opinion, on paper, okay, week by week, this is what it really needs to look like, then there's going to be some areas that probably you come up short in. And
yeah,
I just think there's so many, the window of time that we have, just like in high school coaching, the window of time that you have with a guy is not very long. Okay. Are we more concerned with, hey, how we're running the field pressure, or can we spend a little bit of time on making sure that we care a little bit more about each other? Because at the end of the day, yeah, we're going to be able to teach the X's and O's, but um, when it gets down to crunch time, you better be connected and the team better care about each other.
yeah. Before I ask you about community, because I know that's big, but what are some of the standards or pillars that you guys have implemented since you've been there, that you expect those kids to live or excuse me, men to live every single day?
Yeah, I think number one, it starts with what we were talking about, the locker room. And we got 115 guys. Respect the cultural differences in the locker room, and respect all. The golden rule: treat every single person in this building and on campus like you want to be treated. And if you do that, it's going to be a pretty darn good place.
Yeah.
You talk about just the work ethic and the consistency, what it looks like. We strive high in the classroom to, at Purdue University, it's one of the greatest academic institutions in college football right now, and has been for a number of years, but we're carrying a GPA that's never even been thought about having here. So it's about going to class. It's about doing the things you're supposed to do. Can your teammates count on you with those? Um, the work ethic in the weight room. Okay, we've got 3 different lifting groups going on now that the spring practice is over, and we challenge each other to PR in the weight room. Set standards on what that looks like, and then more than anything, the ability um, to put the team first and showing examples of that on what it's supposed to look like. And, in team meetings that we have, I spend more time talking about life lessons than I do on what the practice plan looks like.
Yeah.
Um, and then we got great examples from the spring of guys really genuinely being happy and excited when their teammate makes a play and showing those things. And we've got a marker of how hard you play when on offense when you don't have the ball in your hands, and showing those things, the grit that it takes to play 6 seconds at a time. Um, those are all fun things to point out because I think those small details, those eventually will break down the wall and will result in wins.
Yeah. Um, your staff. I mean, you've always put together really strong staffs with good men and good people. Um, Again, for the high school level, I think that's something that's difficult to do for a lot of head coaches. They don't have, the assistant coaches that you bring in, the staff that you bring in. I mean, it's there's a lot of green guys. There's a lot of guys that are stuck in their ways. Live within their egos. What would you? I mean, just from your perspective, when you put together staffs or have to replace a coach or something like that, what are the core principles that kind of guide you through that process of hiring people?
Yeah, that's a, a great question. Um, because it's so hard and we all learn from our experiences. And
Yeah.
and you know, I a little bit of a vulnerable moment. I got fired as a head coach at the University of Missouri. And you look
Mhm.
back and man, that was really hard. And you think, okay, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, learn from your things you did well, learn from things that you got to look in the mirror and know you didn't do well and fix them because the opportunity will come up again that you can apply those things, those lessons. Um, I think early on, coach, in my career as a head coach, I was too hard headed, thinking I had to do everything.
Mhm.
I had to be the defensive coordinator. I had to run the recruiting department. I was given all my advice on marketing, on what that needs to look like. And at the end of the day, you lose out on some of the cultural development that you should be doing with your team. And at the end of the day, you're thinking, oh my gosh, I didn't get to this and this and this and this. But then I just thought I could still do it all. So
Right.
then you know, I did, I just didn't do it very well. So you look at, okay, how do you fix that? You surround yourself with really, really good people.
Right.
And number one, if I have an opportunity to hire a coach or a staff member, number one, I want a great person in that role. Number two, I want them to be able to be a great communicator and be able to teach. Because if they can communicate to kids, if they've got the ability to teach the information and they're a good person, if we recruit right, the skill set's going to take over anyway. Schematics, that's important, but it's way down the list in my book.
Yeah.
Um, and then those that are in leadership positions, it's my job to empower those guys, gals, and provide a platform that when they drive into work every day, man, they're fired up to get there and they can't wait to get around the kids. They've got energy and enthusiasm and they love teaching. Um, and then, you know, are we running a 4-3 or an odd stack or what? That's going to come. But I think we all, if we'll admit it, we've all got blind spots on some things
Sure.
that maybe you're not really good at. I certainly have a lot of them.
Yeah.
Hire people in those spots if you can that are really good in those areas. And I
Yeah.
joked all the time. I mean, I think I know enough about offensive football, but I just go in, I just draw up touchdowns and, and hand it to the offensive coordinator. And um, if it doesn't work, punt the ball. I mean, it's not that hard. And then, but I learned, coach, and to stay in my lane and
Yeah.
do what I do well, and just keep doing it, and then allow the people in the organization to do their job and build
Yeah.
them up and give them the opportunities to do what they do well.
Yeah. Empowering the people that work for you, work around you, work with, all that kind of stuff, super important. And I know, you brought up teaching, and I bring it up all the time, and the listeners have heard my stories about teaching multiple times. But I think, I know even coaching at that level, when I was there, there were a lot of really good coaches that were great motivators and great with the players, but didn't know how to teach.
Yeah,
And you could see it. I mean, it was evident, the guys that could teach and the guys that were just, you know, really good maybe schematically and all that kind of stuff, but didn't know how to teach. And I go back to Curtis Jones, Coach Jones at Missouri. I still, I kind of chuckle and, I still talk to Gwen every once in a while, but he was a great teacher. He that guy knew how to communicate. He almost over communicated, but he knew how to teach, whatever position he was coaching, whether it was running backs or defensive line.
yeah,
And so that's kind of the advice I give to all high school coaches is like hire guys that know how to teach,
yeah.
you know.
Well, you got to think
From
about everybody learns differently. I mean,
right,
everybody. I've got it still as a player. I had if we got an install sheet on what we were running, I needed to draw it myself. I needed to walk through it. I needed to see it on film, and then physically, I had to go do it until I got it. That's just the way I
right,
learn. So
yeah,
to me, our coaches, you got to find out, okay, how does your team, your room, how do they learn? How do they retain information? And then, man, you got to be a great teacher.
yeah. It was for me, like in the tight end room at Missouri. I mean, what is 6, 7 guys, and it was funny because I would, you'd put something new in, you get up on the board, you teach it, you go through it, and then I would always look back, and if there were 6 guys in that room, 3 of them would be like shaking their head, they understood, and the
Yeah,
other 3 would be like, "What?" You end up teaching the same thing 3 or 4 different ways so everybody understands it.
yeah,
And that's super important from a community standpoint because I know you're huge on the community, and I know you know, what you're like at Missouri, UNLV, you kinda took it to a different level because of Vegas and bull riding and doing all kinds of stuff. What dude, you're getting old. You better be careful. You're gonna tear a hamstring or pop your bicep or something. I don't care how much you work out. Um, from a community standpoint there in West Lafayette, what have you guys what are you trying to do to make sure the community gets involved, but even more so to make sure your organization, your program is involved within the community?
yeah. You look at how important that is at every level and every stop that
Right,
we've been. And really, coach, I learned that. I mean, I learned that not only growing up in Ada because of the community support we had there, but then watching uh, Coach Smith and Cheryl on what they did in the community at Columbia that spread then statewide, region wide. I mean, you go back to the food bank on some of
right.
the things there, the
Yeah,
food drive, and all those. We continued that going when I was there. We did it in Vegas. We're doing something similar there. I think it's important. Number one, um, I'm really fortunate because my wife Tia, um, she saw that as well because we
yeah,
dated in college, so she lived that world then as well. So she is just about on every non-for-profit board there is.
good.
It's amazing because I know it's so important that I want them. I know it's a results-driven business. I get that. I mean, I get it clearly. But it's also the impact that we have in the vehicle through the game of football that we have to impact thousands. Um, it's our job, and I look at it in some context, and I'm certainly, this could be controversial saying it, but it's almost like a ministry on. I've got
Mhm.
a window of time here with this platform to try to do good, and not only for the 115 guys I've got, but my organization, but then also all the that one. There are many things about Purdue that are special, but the people of this area are unbelievable, unmatched support.
Yeah.
They care deeply about our sports programs. They're hungry for us to get back to winning ways. But also at the end of the day, um, the core group of what this region of the country is, um, they want involvement. They want to feel like it's their program, and to me, the only way you do that, you get out in the street, so to speak, and you make as many connections as you can in as many different avenues as you can through the elementary schools, uh, uh, reading foundation, sending our team to elementary schools to read, giving mentorship opportunities for that. There's so many ways that through this great game that we can impact others. It's part of the responsibility that not only I have, but my wife and our family has as well.
Yeah. Is it, because at the high school level, I mean, we always made it mandatory our community service events or, every time we did something, we involved the community, whether it was a fundraiser or spring practice or, game nights. We had a theme every night, or we did community service. Is that something where the players are required to complete a certain many hours, or is it just kind of like, hey, this is highly encouraged,
Yeah,
and
we
you know,
we have a number of different opportunities that are set up. Um, in part of the structure of the way we have set up our NIL, or revenue share, there's some component of social responsibility and giving back that goes along with that.
that's really
And
good.
I'm really fortunate right now because we got a group of guys that a portion of the money that they have earned through NIL, they're finding ways to give back to their communities and their high school
Good.
teams. And there's a lot of narrative about paying players, um, and I'm all for it. I want to educate them. Okay, here's this extra sum of money you had no idea you're going to get or what to do with. Let's make sure that we're responsible in the way that we're handling business. And it'll go back to what our locker room is like right now. We've got a number of guys, again, some of them have, it's been reported, and some of them, they don't want any attention at all about that. Um, but we've got a big group of guys, high percentage, that are giving back in some way financially. Um, and that's pretty cool to see.
Yeah, that's I've and I think my thinking, my thought process has transformed over the years, and I think more so specifically when I got out of coaching for a couple years and then got back in was, I mean, we're like you said, we have a vehicle and we have a platform. And I know for me personally as a coach, it's a service model. Like, I'm there to serve. When I was coaching, and that's what I'm trying to do now, is just still serve so I can help others be better, live a better life, be better at a skill, just be better people. And you know, you, with all the NIL talk, and like you're saying, I mean, for these young men to be in a position to serve in a way of giving back is that's pretty big, pretty
That's
big.
awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
It, you know what? It means they're starting to get it.
yeah,
And, so I think the messaging there, they see the impact they can have, and, they also know that not long ago, they were in those shoes
yeah,
on dreaming to try to get to this level, and, that's been a lot of fun for me to see this team kinda take that initiative on how impactful they can be in a lot of different ways.
yeah. So, okay, 2 more questions for you. First one, um, talked to a lot of coaches, obviously, and it's funny how for me, when I became a head coach, like, instantly, I was like, "Okay," obviously, I had my father-in-law was a head high school coach for 40 years, and so he was a mentor. My former brother-in-law was a head coach, so he was a mentor, but I quickly, gravitated towards people that I knew that could help me. And like you said, you're talking about blind spots. And if you haven't been a head coach before, you don't know what you don't know. It's like being a parent. People can prepare you for it, but until you're in that position, you don't know how you're going to react. You don't know what you're going to do. There's a lot of high school coaches out there that I think understand that they need mentors, but don't understand the importance of it. And like I said when we started off, I mean, I really believe, and I know you've had a lot of mentors, but I think probably the two most influential ones are Coach Pinkel and Larry Smith, and both great men. Do you still have? I mean, do you still talk to Coach Pinkel and or other mentors that you have, and how important is that to your own growth, and how it can positively impact where you're at in the program
Yeah.
at Purdue?
One of our foundational pieces in our program for our players, and then even more direct for that is growth in every area. And I think that is a pursuit that we all should have uh, as as leaders and educators. I've been really, really fortunate that I've always been around great people and good people and people that are willing to share and help you, and help me along the way. I do stay in very close contact with Coach Pinkel. And then there's a number of other guys in the business over the years, but also for me, um, I've been lucky that the connections through the game of football have put me in touch with a number of different leaders in the world of business,
Right.
in a number of ways. And, when I was at Memphis as a defensive coordinator, one of my players, his dad was the CEO and founder of FedEx. And this, by timing again, and Fred passed away a few months ago, but he opened up his door. Fred Smith opened up his door for me, and the amount of information that he just provided as a leader, my 3 years there. I mean, I can't put a value on that. There's another guy there that was president of the university for a while and was in government in a number of different levels. Brad Martin, maybe one of the most impactful leaders in my time across the country. In every board that he's set on or taken over, he's transformed their company, and he's got ways of communicating, but also applying the knowledge he had, whether it's through sport or business. It helped me as a leader. And so there's so many guys that I'll fortunately have a chance I can reach out to and I can ask, and they're going to give me um, basically the cold hard truth through their
Good.
experience. And sometimes it's not what I want to hear, but that's exactly what I need. And I'm this really, really, and I'm trying to do that for my staff, Corby. That I've reached a point. Um, Man, I want, if they want, I want my coordinators to become head coaches. How can I
Yeah.
help them get there? Assistant coach, if they want to become coordinator, the next step. We've got a number of guys in our building now, the way that college football is structured, that used to be GAs, and then how everybody got the job. Now these staffs are enormous, and we've got all these assistant position coaches. Okay, how do I help them, provide them the knowledge they need to go take that next step? So I used to get mad when I'd have a coach. I had a tight ends coach that at Missouri that left and went to Texas A&M, and I just took it so personal. But it was like they doubled his salary. His
Right.
family was from
Right.
50 miles from there, and I was just so angry at him. And then like finally light bulb went off. I took a step back. It's like that's what guys are supposed to do. If it's
Yeah.
better for them and their family, then that's my job to try to help them get there. Now I want to keep everybody, but also if it's a chance to grow in the profession, then that's got to be part of my job as well.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that because I was going to specifically ask you about that. Because as a head coach, again, um, at the high school level, I felt like it was my responsibility to do exactly what you said, and and I would find out early on, like, what's your goal in coaching? I want to
Yeah.
go to the next level and go. So everything I would do for a coach was to help educate them and prepare them for where they wanted to get to. But it's a hard thing to do. And so I got this book in publishing, or excuse me, in editing right now with a publisher, and it's called More Than The Scoreboard. Anyway, there's 16 chapters, and the last chapter is remember my dad's coaching beliefs and organizations, that whole thing he would give his coaches.
Yep.
Um, I kind of adjusted that for the high school situation. So the last chapter, the 16th chapter, is that. But every chapter before that has a principle that it's based off leadership, unbreakable teams and strong cultures. It hits one of those main principles, but there's a personal story in each one. And for the 15th chapter, it talks about the leadership pipeline and developing leaders. And the story that I used was Hayden Fry. And I was very fortunate, and I saw my dad do it, but I also saw Coach Fry do it when I played for him. Very I started to compile this list of guys that had coached for him or played for him. It's incredible. And
Yeah.
it's not just who everybody knows,
Right.
the
Yeah.
Stoops and all them, the Brett Bielmas and all that kind of stuff. It's the guys that I've had on the show that I played with that are now high school coaches all over the country.
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the one of the greatest testaments to his legacy is the instilling that love for being a servant and teaching and coaching. Um, so that's good to hear. I
That's awesome.
last thing I want to ask you, and not to get too personal, but I again I've seen you grow. You've been a father for years and years and years. You've been a husband for even longer. How and what do you take from being a husband, being a father, that you find that there's this correlation between being a father and a husband and being a head football coach of 115 men? Um, eh, what's
Number
that
one,
crossover like?
uh, I could not do it um, if it wasn't right at home.
Right.
And I'm so fortunate that my wife has been a champion for a long, long time. There are times, as you know, in that world that she raises the family and makes it go, and very thankful for that. Um, our house is very Christ centered and always has been, and I'm fortunate that the messaging that we're able to talk to at home, if you ever get my two sons back in the house and when they're 21 and 20, and then our daughter's 10, um, to watch them spiritually grow in some of the influence that we have had at the house, but also them reaching out and learning on their own and what that looks like now today. To have those conversations, that means more to me than about anything.
Yeah.
And if I ever get a chance, when we get the chance, that all five of us are in the house together. Those moments are a little more fewer and far between, but man, I take advantage of every single one of them because how special that is. But
Yeah.
then there was a point, coach, that was probably 2018, 2019, really made a dedication that, you know what, things aren't always going to go as planned, on the way you want to script it. But if I'll coach every single kid just like he's my son, then at the end of the day, I knew that I did right by them.
Yeah.
And when I've been able to do that, I can lay down tonight, and there's plenty of things that have come across the desk that I got to get solved. But if I take that approach, that I'm going to coach them just like they're my son, I'm going to pour into them in every single way, and I'm going to love them and mentor them, then things are going to work out. And I know that I did everything I possibly could from my soul for those guys.
Amen to that. Perfect. Barry, busy man. I really appreciate you.
Thanks, coach.
More than you know. Love you.
Great.
Love your family. Please tell them hello, okay? But thank you again. I
Thanks, coach.
appreciate it, Barry.
A lot of
All right.
respect.
Hey,
Love you.
hang on for a quick sec, okay?
All right.